I'm just going to repeat everything just in case you missed it. This is just 6 p.m. UK time, and this is Bless Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. I'm Saad in Southeast London, and with me is Gregory. Gregory, how are you, and how is the weather where you are?
Well, one is fine. Weather is beautiful somehow, but still chilly.
Okay, here in London it is chilly, yes, raining, and even windy. It's going to get worse, I believe. So welcome, listeners, to the spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the GRAIL message by Aprushin. And we have a new topic each week for discussion. The topic tonight is Divinity, Spirit and Body. Divinity, Spirit and Body. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, can call, text or use WhatsApp. I'm going to begin with what is the GRAIL message? The GRAIL message in the light of truth by Aprushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The GRAIL message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the GRAIL message, Aprushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the GRAIL message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the GRAIL message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace, if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic we're discussing tonight is divinity, spirit, and body. Divinity, spirit, and body. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, as you know, I like to look up in the dictionary the words in the topic in the dictionary. And so tonight the first word is divinity, and I've looked that up there. I think I might have looked up divine, but I can't remember. I'm saying divinity. Let me say divinity. So that it says a divine, meaning of divine, divinity, a divine being, a god, that's with a little g, or goddess with a little g as well. It cannot, and then also another one, it says God with a capital G. Divinity or divine things are divinity or divine are things that are either related to or devoted to or proceeding from a deity. What is or not divine may be loosely defined, as it is used by different belief systems. And again, to summarize, it says deity, a god with a little g, goddess with a small g, or other supernatural being considered divine. So, Greg, I know I've said quite a mouthful there. Let me try to recap that. So the meaning of the word divine or divinity, it says a divine being, a god with a little g, or goddess with a little g, or God with a capital G. And it also says deity, devoted to or proceeding from a deity. Gregory, any of these words help us to understand what is divinity?
Well, thanks for this particular question. You will find that when it comes to that which is way above the inner capacity of the human personality, then so very many words, so very many descriptions are used because it is very pervasive. That which is referred to as divinity or divine is only the perception which, or the conception which many have put in place to describe that which is even above their conception. Therefore, one must search for other expressions. That which is described now as divine is only a radiation. One must talk about a species, using the species as that which one must use to define all these things. One has to fall back to that word radiation, or the radiation of a species, which species is directly connected to the source of all power. With that, one may now proceed to discuss other things.
Thank you for this answer and picture there, Gregory. As you said, a species, divine is or divinity is a species, which is connected with radiation. I think if I said correctly, from the source.
Correct.
Okay. Source being, Gregory, can we define what is the source? Is it a power?
Is connected to the source of all power.
Right. Okay. Okay, so that is like you can say the beginning, and then the divinity comes out of that beginning, you can say.
One again has to be careful. That is why the source of all power is life. The radiations of life, the immediate radiations of life, is what one refers to as divinity. However, the radiations themselves are only emanations. These radiations are not life itself.
Right, that's exactly what's going to be our next question. Is the divinity life? If it's the source is life, but or the source of power is life, and then comes this radiation. But you're now saying that divinity itself is not life. So, okay.
Divinity relies on life to even exist.
Right. And are there any beings or living things, if I can say that way, existing in the divinity? Because you express it as a radiation,
yes,
and not life. It comes from life.
Themselves.
So is it? Sorry, say it again.
Radiations themselves consist of all that is necessary to have forms in accordance with the will of the source of all life. Therefore, there are forms. These forms, which many refer to as angels or archangels, have always been there, for they belong to the direct radiations. These forms rely on the source of all power.
Thank you for this answer, Gregory. Okay. Now, in the dictionary, when I was looking up divinity, it was talking about God, capital G, and goddesses with little g, God and goddesses with the little g. So, can you please explain how that is connected with divinity, if it's connected at all? So, God with the capital G, and we have to say it this way, I'm afraid, because that's how it is spelt, and people might not follow us if we keep, if we don't express it this way. And then there's the little g, God, and goddess, little g as well. So how are they connected, Gregory, with divinity, if they are?
at the beginning of our discussions, there is a reference to the ability to form conceptions, which conceptions, some of which are above the capacity of the person to have a picture. And that is the biggest challenge that the human personality has. Therefore, one hears of these expressions you yourself just used. The so-called goddesses or gods, the way people picture them, these are beings. These are beings of a radiation. So these are radiations that have taken on form. In that radiation which is closest, in the nearest proximity of the source of all power, this proximity, which has always been there in these radiations, these beings are referred to as beings in the divine realm. One might also use divine species. In that particular species, the human personality does not even exist. And that is why it is difficult or impossible to describe this in such a way as to make it comprehensible. One may only use very simple conceptions in the sense that once divinity is mentioned, these are the nearest radiation forms, these emanations that has always been there in the nearest proximity to the source of all power. In that particular radiation, there are, as many we describe, or we just to have a picture, there are prime sources of form. In these prime sources, one may refer to as the gods or the goddesses.
Thank you. If I understand you right, Gregory, as you said, the divinity consists of these divine beings or species, of which is radiation from the source of which is life. And are you saying those beings are the gods and goddesses that I was referring to, the little g? They exist in the divine?
You yourself said there is some of little g, some of big G. And what is stressed here is the confusion that has arisen due to the inability to be very determinate on which is which. What is stressed here is that there is the radiations which is nearest to the source of all power, which radiation has always been there. These radiations also take on form. It is these forms which some are able to perceive and have given them names, and there are various names for it.
Right. I think I'm getting the point what you're making now, because as you said, there are forms, and when we give them names, you can see that some people might call them gods with a little g, or goddesses with the little g, the same thing, and then but others may call it something different, and so there can be confusion when we give them names.
Correct.
So I think I know where you're coming from now. What about the capital G, Gregory, which you say, is that also divine, a being, or how can we, the creator, let's try to go there and just get it clear. So does the Almighty God, creator as we also say, is he a divine being? Because again, I did look up in the dictionary and it refers to God there as well as divine. So just want to understand that. Again, I hear, just before you answer, I also hear what you said, that this is something that is so high above where the human being's understanding is. So maybe we cannot ever understand it at all. So maybe I have two questions in it. So let me not ask the second one. First, just to understand, Gregory, where does this, when we talk about the source, is that the same as referring to the Almighty God, the Creator there?
In the novel and simple description, there is the source of all power. Different people have different meaning for it. However, even within these meanings, there is still that indeterminate impression for that which they refer to is that which is completely independent and is life itself. Whereas for many, those things which have been described in the dictionary, they are referring to creation. The description we are referring to is above creation. It is the power that the Creator used to produce creation. The Creator, strictly speaking, is not the source of all power. The Creator is separate from the source of all power, but relies on the power emanations in creation. The Creator has always existed. It's an intrinsic part of the power itself.
Thank you for this answer, Gregory. I can hear that don't use the word complex, but it's to understand the Creator and His creation and the divine, which is above creation, like you say. It's like you can say not straightforward to follow immediately. It needs to spend some time on it to absorb it correctly, let's say. So I can hear that you just can't give like simple answers immediately. Some people might even misunderstand those answers. So I hear what you're saying. I mean, one thing I got from it, Gregory, the Almighty Creator, you can say he doesn't have a form, while everything else has a form. So, so that's how you can differentiate very clearly, from everything there, because everything else has the form, and one thing just to get clarified, Gregory, you said the Creator is not the source. I just want to understand what you meant by this, because the source to me means the source would be the Creator for me. That's how I would take it.
At the beginning of the discussion, there is the effort to distinguish between the source of all power, which is different from the radiations which has existed in the nearest proximity of this source of all power. In the proximity, that realm or that species, one referred to as the divine species. Creation does not exist in divinity. Creation exists outside of divinity. When then came that let there be light. Because creation is mentioned, creation needed to rely on first the forms, which forms also exist in divinity. And therefore, you will find that the Creator in divinity has a form. It is that form that gave the possibility of creation. So creation is tied to the Creator, and the Creator relies on the power from the source of life. And therefore, you will find that one must differentiate the Creator from the source of all power, because the Creator relies on the source of all power and also the radiations of the source of all power, which radiations have always been there.
Right. Thank you for that, Gregory. We'll continue to go delve into that a bit more in a moment. Dear listeners, I want to let you know you're listening to Blessed Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the GRAIL Message by Abrushin. And if you'd like to know more about the GRAIL Message or want to get a copy of the GRAIL Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is divinity, spirit, and body. divinity, spirit and body. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. Also, you can listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1 space, that's the number 1, Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 as I said, space live stream. That's for the live show. And you can listen to the recording of this show the next day also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space GRAIL Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is Divinity, Spirit and Body. And of course, you can listen to the recordings of our previous shows as well, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that is ZENO.FM / Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, I'm thinking I could ask you more about divinity, but I think it's better to move on to spirit now, and we can come back about divinity a bit more later. So, one thing we already made clear, that the divine or divinity existed, has always existed, as you said, and then there has been creation after divinity. Divinity already existed, so the creation came up later. Basically, it has been creation, and so we're going to explore that in a minute, but it's connected with what our next word is, spirit. So again, I looked up in the dictionary, and it's in the non-physical part of a person, which is the seat of emotions, character, the soul, even they call it, they use that. And so I will add there the human being there, because there's a non-physical part of a person, human being, which is the seat of emotions, character, and they say also the soul. So Gregory, that definition of spirit in the dictionary, is that what we mean when we are discussing this topic now, when we mean talking about spirit?
Again, it's good you raise these questions. And immediately, one can easily discern the one-sidedness of these expressions as interpreted by many. In this topic, part of it is spirit. That which the dictionary is describing or striving to define is human spirit. So these, though may be related, spirit, there is more in it than the human spirit. What the dictionary is talking about is the human spirit. It means, therefore, it has qualified a particular type of species. This species is of spirit, and a particular type being referred to as the human spirit. So, yes, in its description, it is only considering that which appertains to the human spirit, whereas what you yourself refer to is spirit. That spirit is more encompassing than that which is referred to in the descriptions of the dictionary. For there is more of spirit than only that which is referred to as the human spirit. There are other beings other than a human being, because even the definitions or the qualifications, human being, human spirit, and if there are human spirits, there must be other subcategories of spirit which are not human. That also exists.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer. So just as you've been saying, there are other spiritual beings or spirits which are not human. And then your mind straight away wants to know, oh, what are these other spirit beings or spirits that exist? If, of course, we are familiar with the human, because that's what we are. But you are saying there's more other type of spirit as well. Now, I'm wondering, what other spirit beings are there? I'm wondering, could it be animals?
Again, in the conceptions which many have formed for themselves, which conceptions either help to open the path or close the path for their understanding, there is the talk of animals. When in the discussion one then refers to in the higher, above creation, there is divinity as a species, and below divinity, which has come into being as a creation, we now have creation, that which is nearest to or immediate after the divine realm or divine species, that other species which has now come into being or which has precipitated into existence, that is what is referred to as being spiritual. In the spiritual realm, just as you have in divinity, of course, there are landscapes. Or do many just think there are no clouds? It is not only human beings that exist there. There are other beings that are not human. That people may have human forms doesn't mean or necessarily mean that they themselves must be human. Deep within that form, it is that which determines the species or the type for types and species, or one may say a species is a special type. They are very connected. So, in this particular case, in the direct precipitation from divinity, which precipitation can only form at a distance, but nearest to divinity, downwards, there is the spiritual species. In this spiritual species, there are beings. There are beings that are responsible in the construction, in the upbuilding, in the maintenance of the spiritual species, the spiritual realm. There are also those beings that came to immediate self-consciousness in that realm of spiritual species that have the human form. And these ones are referred to as human. So that is only a qualification. There are beings. That means these are individuals, units that work together. There are beings which are responsible for, say, the clouds, beings which are responsible for the atmosphere, beings which are responsible for the soil there, if one may use word soil. So one must carefully vision or envision these things and know that they are beings. These beings are responsible, or they have different tasks for themselves. And it is this task that help to define themselves. But one may only take these things very slowly in a step-by-step manner to have a more rounded and precise conception.
Thank you, Gregory, for this answer there. What I'm seeing is that if let's say there's divinity, then there's the spiritual, and within the spiritual we have said that there's the human and other spiritual, if I can say that way, beings. And it's like what we see on the earth. There's a variety of animals, species, as we said, human beings. Each one has its own purpose, and in this world that we live in, the creation, you can say, doing different tasks and so on. So you can understand, because we are not, let's say, although we can say we work with nature and work with animals and work with plants and landscape, like you said, that is all there, but they all have they're all different species somehow. So, and what I'm trying to say is, you can see the categorization in it, different purposes, different species. So it sort of makes sense that we are not fully familiar with all the other beings that are there. We just observe them and not really know too much about them. But obviously we have to work with them, on the earth especially, to live to survive and to what we need to do. And then I'm thinking that the other beings also are living their own life, whatever development they have to go through for themselves. So it sort of makes sense that normally we think about ourselves mostly, but yes, there's those other species, and they have their own jobs to do, and we just we're not fully familiar with them. That's what I can see here. And I'm just thinking, I'm going to come up with this question now, Gregory, so we know that the divine is a different species, or divinity is a different species to the spiritual. Do they sort of come to our world, the spiritual world, and into the, I know we haven't come to that point just yet, but do they enter our world there, Gregory, the divine beings?
Again, one may say thanks for this particular question, which is, do the divine beings enter creation? Of course, some do, but not in the form as many will imagine. For when a being that resides in divinity needs to enter creation, that being has to take on a body. Which body is prepared for it in creation? One may reinterpret that being from divinity impresses its volition on a body in creation. It is that volition which has been impressed on that takes on form in spiritual creation. That is the only way possible for it. It is not that you will have that which is divine just packing his things and jumping into creation. That is not the way it is. But evolution comes out and impresses on that which is in creation, and a form develops, or a form instantly arises with which these particular personality in divinity must use in its activities in creation.
Thank you for that answer, that Gregory, and picture you're painting there. I'm going to move on to the third word in our topic, so that we can cover more things, and that is body. And I think we are very familiar with this word body, but I'll look it up in the dictionary first. So there it says the physical structure, including bones, flesh and organs of a person or animal. It's important, yes, so that's the meaning of the word body in the dictionary. I'll just repeat that. The physical structure, including bones, flesh and organs of a person or an animal. So is that a good description there, Gregory, for the word body?
Again, these are only approximates. That which is referred to as body is basically a container which is used for an activity within a particular species. In the discussions, you ask the question, can someone from divinity come into creation to work? And in that particular question, the answer was, in divinity, there is the impression of a volition, which volition takes on form in spirituality. That form which has now emerged, that form is the body. That form one may refer to as a container. So, on a more universal language, bodies are only containers in the fulfillment of a task.
Right. Thank you very much, Gregory. Now I think we are getting somewhere in terms of, you can see, linking these things together. Like you said, the divine beings or divinity can have a volition or which comes, or an expression that can enter into the spiritual. So they don't come directly into the spiritual, you can say, but the expression comes into the spiritual, and you can call that a body. I think that's what you were saying. And I don't know.
What one was saying,
yes,
that volition takes on a form. That form is the container of that volition. So the volition, which is only perceptible within the spiritual, that volition needs a form. For if there is no form for a volition, how therefore can you recognize it in that particular species, in that spiritual species? In the same sense, when a body is referred to, here we are familiar with the physical body. That verb, physical, which qualifies the body, physical container, it is the volition of the spirit which has now taken on form or has pressed out a form, which form is now available for you and I to use as individuals. This form is used for the tasks of experiencing. So one must differentiate from the body and also that which uses it, which is the volition that makes use of this body. That volition is the inner core. So these things must be carefully differentiated for it to make sense, such that when you have, in the case of a human personality, in order to incarnate on earth, a form is pressed out, in quotes, created for it, which it needs to use, that means to occupy, to wear this form in order to experience. Otherwise, if there were no form for it in this world of matter, then how are we to perceive it? The perception tools which are used in the activities of this form are the so-called five senses that you use. And subsequently, when all has been said and done in the so-called physical world where these five senses are used, that volition, that inner core, severs itself and the form returns to its originality. And that form, that inner core, that inner volition leaves, departs away. But that inner volition is a unit, is a being, that being which experiences, but uses this container, these bodies to experience.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory, and clarification as well. I'm now, I do have some questions from a listener, but at the moment I don't feel that I can ask you them right now. I think I want to give more context before we continue. Gregory, we've been following sort of a journey that there is the source and the radiation or source, which is also the life, we can call it life as well, and from that power comes, let me see, the radiation of the source has resulted in, or not resulted, the radiation of that source has brought, which also existed for, let's say, always, as you said, is the divinity, the radiation, you can say, of it. And then we followed that after that the spiritual, the spiritual or the spirits have come after that. I know we've maybe not made it absolutely clear, but that's where you could say they do have a beginning. The spirit beings do have a beginning, that they were actually created, you can say. So we haven't maybe made that absolutely clear up till this point. So there you could say, what you did say, the divinity was there before creation, or exist, yeah. So we're going to look at that in a moment. I want to just let the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the GRAIL message by Uprushin. And if you're interested to know more about the GRAIL message or want to get a copy of the GRAIL message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is divinity, spirit, and body. If you have any questions about this topic or comments, divinity, spirit, and body, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space live stream. That's for the live show. You can also listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space GRAIL Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is Divinity, Spirit and Body. And of course you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that is ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Gregory, let's say people refer to words like heaven and earth, and I'm thinking, is heaven, where is heaven? Is in terms of divinity? Well, we know we're living beings we are talking about here in divinity, or the world, let's call divine world, spirit world, and then I won't talk about body now, we'll come to that later. So when we're talking about this heaven and earth, Gregory, where does that fit in the context of divinity and spirit?
Again, it's good you raise these topics, for there is the need for necessary clarification. Basically, you will find in the limitations of the human perceptions, it only considers the earth, and thereafter, what is not of the earth, that means what is not of gross matter, or what is not of physical gross matter, which gross matter is perceptible only through the 5 senses. Outside of that is referred to as heaven. However, it has not taken into consideration the different parts, the different aspects of that which is non-material, or that which is not of the earth. For at the beginning of our discussions, we made mention of a species. That species of radiation, that type of radiation, which is in close proximity to the source of all power, proximity as best as can be described, that species of radiation or of realm is referred to as divinity. Their emotion is much, much, much greater, and subsequently there was the discussion that in the precipitation of these radiations, creation came into existence. The immediate coming into existence of creation, that part which is of close proximity to divinity or to divine radiation, that part which is also a precipitate of divine activities or of divine radiation, that we refer to as the spiritual species. Below the spiritual species, in which one has the precipitation of spiritual activities, as things get cooler and cooler, there is the animistic. These are just simple categorizations to give a more precise or fairly rounded picture to the listener. After that which we refer to as the animistic, then we have the world of matter. The peculiarity of the world of matter is that it is used as covering, as containers. And that is why that which uses matter as container, once it leaves matter, once it leaves the units it has utilized, matter returns to the state in which it was. So you will find here on earth, there are, in the earthly domain, there are human beings, or there are human spirits, who, to make themselves perceptible, use the container of the human body and is granted the five senses. These five senses work within the human body in its interaction, in its task. So once one hears heaven and earth, that only means that which is gross material, or that which is gross materially perceptible to the five senses, and that which is not. But there is a whole different category of categories from that which is non-earthly all the way to the animistic, to the spiritual, and then divinity. This divinity has always existed as the radiations in the closest proximity in all naturalness to the source of all power.
Thank you for that answer there, Gregory. Now, on the earth, many human beings, let's say, believe or think they can become this or they can become that. And what I'm pointing to, I'm just trying to, when I started, I said divinity, in the dictionary it's saying gods and goddesses with the little g as well, and even the God himself, G, capital G, is also referred to in Divinity. And you carefully, if I can say, put it that these things that we have to, when we start describing things, let's say, this is my words I'm putting now, when we start labeling these, giving these labels to divinity or whatever we think it means, it can lead to quite a confusion. But yet out there, you can say there are many ideas of what man is capable of or what man can become, because we all feel, for example, Gregory, I know we haven't mentioned it today too much, but we are human beings are spirit, and we started life as unconscious spirit, seed or germ, as we've said in the previous shows, and then people think, okay, there's a higher consciousness. That's what we want. We started as unconscious. The idea is to become conscious, and maybe we can, they say, achieve. I'm going to use this word, supreme consciousness, if there's such a thing, as human beings. And some people think, oh, I can become God this way. So, like I asked you earlier, Gregory, can the divine come into the spiritual? Can the spiritual beings become divine?
Again, in the definition or descriptions which we had carefully tried to put down, that divinity, in order to walk in creation, the path which is permitted of it is that of a volition, which volition has an impression that brings together elements or substances in creation. Divinity is not creation. The species of divinity is not the same as the species of creation. However, divinity can impress in creation the heat, the motion of which divinity is capable is much wider. The capabilities of divinity is much broader, and therefore you will find that divine species can have an impression which therefore has that innate capability to have forms in creation. In that particular case, you now have forms coming into existence, but the inner core of these forms, which is a volition, that volition has arisen from divinity. In divinity, spirituality, or to put it very simply and bluntly, the human personality does not exist. The human personality does not exist because the heat and the pressure of movement there does not permit the human personality to even come into existence. So in there, the human personality or the human spirit, as we may call it, does not exist. It is only the precipitation of the activities of divinity that makes it possible for creation to exist. If that precipitation stops, creation vanishes. So that is the way it is. At best, when the human spirit has built up the innate capacity, the innate capabilities, when it has become self-conscious in accordance with the love, self-conscious in accordance with the will of the Almighty, only when it has followed this path and is able to use that which has been sown into it, those virtues, only then can one say the human personality will persist forever. Only then can it receive an identity, that is, it exists. Else, it does not exist. So even in paradise, when it has cultivated that which is sown into it, when it has done that in accordance with the will and the love of the Almighty, that is the best it can do. It can then exist in the realm of the spirit, which is the outermost part of the realm of the spirit. For it does not wish to go further. The heat and the pressure which exists way above it does not permit it, else it will lose consciousness and vaporize or vanish. It will not be a unit, and it will not exist in any form, in any substance, for there it cannot exist. Therefore, one must be careful in overestimating themselves in being granted, or because they have been granted an opportunity to exist as a self-conscious human spirit, because the opportunities to do that have been provided. One should never forget, before they came into existence, there were other beings that existed and made it possible to fashion out the paths that they, in their quest for existence, needed to follow. These beings are not as arrogant as the human personalities who have been granted the opportunities to become human, to become human beings, beings that are of use to creation in the perpetuation of the will and the love of the Almighty, in granting other beings the opportunity to enjoy the blessings that have been permitted to it. Therefore, the human personality or the human spirit, which is still striving to become self-conscious, must be careful of what it wishes for when it itself lacks that innate capability.
Thank you for this answer, Gregory. I want to sort of refer to the questions of the listener, and I'm trying my best to make it in the right context, but because in a way what your answer just now sort of has dealt with this, but I just want to bring this question in here. It says, the listener is asking or saying, how can we believe that we, mankind, are divine when for millions of years we have done nothing but kill each other, not to mention that we have brought this magnificent garden planet Earth to the very brink of disaster? I'll just repeat that question or point. How can we believe that we, mankind, are divine when for millions of years we have done nothing but kill each other, not to mention that we have brought this magnificent garden, planet Earth, to the very brink of disaster? Gregory, you just on mute there.
Yes, I'm listening, but have you finished?
Yes.
Well, the word divinity has been completely misunderstood. Before you take a step to such, or even consider such, one must ask, who were those who made the earth or the world of matter possible? There must have been others. There must have been beings who made this possible for the human personalities to come to this side to experience. So, if there have been others, if those others were killing themselves instead of calmly preparing these realms so that the human species may come here to experience and mature, if they were destroying themselves, then there will be no world of matter. For it is well said, a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. So the world of matter has been here, fully and well prepared, so that the human spirit may enter, incarnate into the world of matter in order to experience gradually and slowly build up its innate capabilities to become self-conscious. So, in that particular case, the first step is for the human personality to swing in such a way that the innate virtues which have been sown into it come to fruition. Only then can it talk of understanding what creation is about. How can you talk of creation itself when you yourself do not know creation, haven't understood the language that creation speaks to you? How can you know when you don't even understand the language? It is self-delusion for many who wish to have, in quotes, divinity within them, when they themselves do not know what divinity is. First, the human personality must strive to understand fluently the language which creation speaks to it. This language is in the laws, the reference framework of the laws of nature, of the laws of creation. Only when it has understood these laws is it able to be or to become a useful stone within the scheme of things in creation. Once it has achieved that, all the madness swelling up within his head or her head will vanish. Then it will know how to work with others in the sense of one for all and all for one, and not in the present way in which many decimate others. Hello, it's hard, you're on mute.
Thanks, Gregory, for pointing that out. Yes, I was speaking while I was on mute. So, yeah, thank you for that answer you've given. The listener sent a few more questions, and again, I'm trying to see if I can bring them into our discussion. So, let me just look at how I can do that. Before I do that, I just want to remind the listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of this show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the GRAIL message by Abdrushin. And if you are interested to know more about the GRAIL message or want to get a copy of the GRAIL message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight on our show is Divinity, Spirit, and Body. Divinity, Spirit, and Body. You are welcome to join us with any comments or questions by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1.com. Also, you can listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1, space GRAIL message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is Divinity, Spirit, and Body. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows as well, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Gregory, we just celebrated Easter, or many people have celebrated Easter, which is Jesus' crucifixion and then resurrection. And one of the things that the Jews were not happy about with Jesus was that he claimed that he was the Son of God. And they said, this is a blasphemy. He's a man on the earth, and he's claiming to be God. Yes, he refers to the Father, but he himself was calling himself Son of God, and which they thought was equating himself to God, basically. Now, what we've been discussing, Gregory, tonight, divinity, spiritual, spirit beings, and then their body. And I want to connect it with this discussion about Jesus, because Jesus claimed, as I said, to be the Son of God, and even he said, the Father and I are one, or the Father is in me and I'm in the Father, which basically seems to imply that he is, let's say, God there. And I don't know if there's a way to go into this to understand what Jesus was saying or claiming, and in this context of spirit, divinity, and the body. This, can you throw some light on that? Who Jesus was?
Actually, there seems to be so much confusion due to many inability to investigate or to examine for themselves. When Christ spoke, he called himself, like many would say, the Son of the Almighty. And those who opposed him said it is blasphemy, and they said he is the Almighty. Again, you can already see that they weren't even listening, because they would have found that what they imagined is different from what Christ himself has said. And with that, there would have been no confusion if they had understood aright what Christ was saying. Again, it was Christ who made it very clear, by their works we shall know them. That means by their activities. And for those who were permitted to witness the activities of Christ, which activities were perceptible to many here on earth, it became very clear that he, in his activities, walked with the power from on high, which is above that of the capabilities of the human personalities, which is above that which is of the primordial spiritual. He himself worked with divine power. So, only through such was he able to make some things possible. Make some things possible in accordance with the will of the Almighty. So, viewed rightly and correctly, his activities resonated with the will of the Almighty and also with the love of the Almighty. And therefore, using that as evidence by their works or by his works, he showed from where he came and whose power he used to bring such works into existence. Again, what he gave to the disciple in the Lord's Prayer, one, if examined very consistently and carefully, one will find it contains all that the human personality will ever need for its whole existence. That is another evidence of his works. He always referred to the Father. He never said he is the Father. For when he prayed, he started, Our Father. He didn't say, I am the Father. He, however, made use of the power that streams out from the source of all power. That power was in him, and therefore he was able to fulfill in certain activities that many now understand as miracles. These things are not deniable. They knew it. But in their distorted and misunderstanding of his words, they only wanted to find faults, find excuses for crucifying him. So, but what is not right is to say, use the general word, the Jews. For were the disciples not also the Jews? And were it not the disciples who recognized him in his activities? So it will not be right to generalize, to say every Jew did that. But many, in their limited understanding, in their lack of understanding, in their indolence, did not seek further. Belief is not conviction. So, when many people say they believe, that is only a mental affirmation. They have not put it to test. They haven't examined. For were they to examine rigorously and vigorously, examine in their physical activities, examine in their thoughts, and above all, examine in their intuitions, then such confusion, such doubts that they had would have vanished. But because they did not examine intuitively, they could not perceive the works of Christ, and therefore they fought against him.
Thank you for that answer there, Gregory, and explanation. As I was doing the research for this program, I came across this chapter in the Bible, John chapter 8. But we don't really have time to go into it at all. But basically, Jesus is speaking on the Mount of Olives there, and where the Jews, Jesus, says what he is, declares what he is, and the Jews are having it very difficult to not only understand him, but even turning against him. And so I just want to put one line from it, actually, which may not, people may not understand it immediately, but this is like the last word of Jesus before he left these people. And he said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, behold, before Abraham was, I am. And so that's Jesus saying that, which is saying that I exist before Abraham existed, which is really giving his identity, you can say there. So, and then in the next line it says, then they took up stones to cast at him, but Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and so passed by. So that's where Gregory, when I mentioned about blasphemy, as I said, I won't read the whole chapter where Jesus was declaring who he was, and the Jews could not handle that or could not understand that. I would say the main thing, they couldn't understand it. It's like talking two different languages. One you could say is spiritual, and the other one is pure intellectual. So they can never get it. Whatever he says, they could never get it. So the best thing was to leave. And that's what he did before they cast stone on him. What I want to say now, Gregory, I think I can bring this other point from the listener, which is connected with the first question they asked about man thinking that he can be divine. So it says, is it possible that our vision of ourselves is so far out of whack with reality that it may be fast impossible at this late stage to bridge the gap? Or is it possible that God Almighty has sent as a last act of grace in His holy word, anchored here in the world, as Christ the Lord once promised, i.e. the Spirit of truth, to be with us for all time, as Christ's time on earth was drawing ever closer to its terrible end? I'm just going to read that again. Is it possible that our vision of ourselves is so far out of whack with reality that it may be fast impossible at this late stage to bridge the gap? Or is it possible that the God Almighty has sent as a last act of grace in His holy word, anchored here in the world in the world, as Christ the Lord once promised, the Spirit of truth, to be with us for all time, as Christ's time on earth was drawing ever closer to its terrible end? I don't know if you were able to follow what I said there, or read out there.
First, I have the words, the understanding of it, because there are so many parts.
Yes.
It's the challenging. But one may say to these expressions is that the reality, our vision of ourselves, is only formed through our physical activity, our thought activity, and our intuitive activities. These are three different weavings belonging to three categories. If our physical activities, our thought activities, our intuitive activities, if they resonate, then the power, the neutral power from on high, will flow or will permeate these different areas and will therefore build around ourselves our immediate environment. An environment will therefore come into existence which will either draw us up in accordance with the will of the Almighty, or it will not draw us up. For many to be able to ensure that their activities, the three different categories were just mentioned, help is always available. Help in the form of advice, help in the form of teachings, help in the form of examples, help in physical reality, help in thoughts reality, help in intuitive reality. They are always there. So it is not belief as such, but in making use of these helps, which have been hewn into creation, which have been revitalized again and again, such that as soon as the human personality awakens to this help, they are able to make use of it, because the power which they had used in all sorts of terrible things, that power will now help them through in detaching themselves from horror. The help is there. But one has to make use, one has to recognize that it is help. That with a good volition in accordance with the will of the Almighty, in accordance with the love of the Almighty, that already placed these blessings in creation, this will and love that already made it possible for the human spirit to take on form, as has been described earlier, to be able to experience. Therefore, the help, the blessings are there. But the human personality must make use of it for its own benefit. And in doing that, we also strive to extend that which he or she has received. In that case, it will be drawn closer home in a step-by-step manner. That is all that is required of the human spirit, and no more.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for this answer there. I know we didn't talk too much about the body. I guess in a way we are familiar with it, on the earth. As you have already said, it's it's like a form that we are wearing. So I want to ask, let me just put one question toward in this regard to the body. Gregory, is there any special purpose for the body apart from being a covering for us on the earth? Is there any, how could I say, we call it flesh and blood, and so is there any deeper connection with the I'm trying to think of some spiritual meaning behind what is the purpose of the body. So yeah, let me just say it this way, Gregory. So the physical body that we are human beings are wearing on this earth, is there some deeper meaning apart from being a covering for us, to function on the earth?
When that statement, covering or container, is used, can one imagine that you have a human personality without a physical body? How will that human personality be able to interact, be able to work with others without a physical body? For the perceptions you have when one uses the physical body, these are only the channels through which you can use in one's activities physically. Otherwise, you will not be able to participate effectively in physical activities. So, if one needs to walk in an earthly way, then one needs the tool that has been designed by creation or by nature to be able to use these tools in order to experience. Else, one is unable to experience effectively, because it is only through these tools that one can be in the same arena with others in order to experience. So this tool, this covering is only a tool. This container is only a tool that it uses for experiencing here on earth. Once it leaves the earth, it doesn't need this body anymore, because the body only came into existence when it came, and it had to use it. This body was prepared, and therefore it has used it. And when it's leaving, it leaves it behind. So it cannot take it along. In fact, that does not even come into the equation of taking the physical body along. So with that, there should be clarity that the dust will return to dust.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer there. Dear listeners, we've come to the end of our show tonight on the topic of divinity, spirit, and body. Hope you enjoyed the discussion, and I would like to just, as the end of the show has come, I would like to read from the GRAIL message, the foreword, which is titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Aprushin. And dear listeners, if you want to pick up a copy of the GRAIL message or want to get more information on the GRAIL message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail.com. Gregory, anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Well, a belated happy Easter, a new beginning, and wishing all listeners a beautiful week.
Thank you for that, Gregory. And from me, listeners, just a reminder, we will be back next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. with another topic. I also wish you, you could say, belated back happy Easter, and wish you all a great week that's coming up. God bless.